My name is Victor Mgbachi, and I want to thank you for taking out the time to click on this video. And if it came to you just by chance, please sit down and enjoy every part of this teaching. I'm right here on Amrich Leadership Centre's platform, and I'm so excited about it. And I've decided to talk about something very interesting on this show today, and it's all about personal growth. Personal growth. Whether you like it or not, as your age increases, you should actually grow, not just physically, but mentally, psychologically, and in all ramifications. But it saddens me these days, that even in our present generation, a lot of people increase in age, but have refused to increase capacity. This is my summation of personal growth. You must understand this principle I want to share with you today. If you do understand this principle, then you will be able to take yourself further in life. In the last few weeks, on the platform of the School of Wisdom, I've been talking about personal growth, the steps to personal growth. But right here, I want to share with you a principle that has worked for others, that has worked for me, and I'm sure if you follow these principles, you will have every reason to grow. First, let me start with an example of the daily word we hear around this part of the world. There's a saying, when people see underdogs, or when people see their friends or their colleagues trying to be ambitious about certain things or trying to push the limits, there is a phrase that is common in our present dispensation, and it's called, or it's termed, who dash monkey banana. Who dash monkey banana. You know what that means? That no matter how much you try, no matter how much you push yourself, there are certain things you cannot get. I beg to disagree with that. As long as you have an ambition, as long as you have a purpose in sight, as long as you have a vision to run with, nothing can stop you except you. All right? So do not get to that point where people look down on you and think you cannot go beyond the level where you are. In fact, if where you are today is the same place you used to be 10 years back, then there's a problem with you, not with the president of this country, because I see a lot of people clamor, and a lot of people try to pass the buck and try to blame someone else, blame their uncles. Excuse me, even if your uncle was the reason, are you going to fight him? Even if you eventually hurt him, what has that got to do with your life and your personal growth? And that is why we need to talk about this principle. Now, this principle is bordered around one thing you must be, two things you must never do, and three things you must always do. Let me say that again for emphasis. One thing you must be, two things you must never do, and three things you must always do. That is the principle. Now, I've tagged it the banana principle for personal growth. The banana principles for personal growth. Now, the banana is an acronym, all right? And the acronym was brought from the story I just told you and the idiom I just told you, where people say, who dash monkey banana? Success is for everyone, but you must push yourself to that point. You must push the limit. You must understand your purpose, all right? And you must fight for it. With everything you have, you must invest in it. All right, so let's talk about the banana principles. It has worked for some people. It's still working for me, and I'm very sure it's going to work for you. Let's start with the first letter, B. The banana principle. And the first letter B means, number one, okay. The first letter B stands for be truthful to yourself. Be truthful to yourself. There's a lot of hype men around. When people say there is no one like you, excuse me, there are 1,000,001 people that can do exactly, if not better, than what you can do. Never let anyone hype you. Don't let people talk you down. Be truthful to yourself. If you have not arrived at a particular point, do not push the limit. Your sincerity is important to help you scale through and to help you understand growth. Your sincerity is very important. I once quoted in one of my tweets that your sincerity will sustain you. Your sincerity will sustain you. Be truthful to yourself. When people come to you and tell you, oh, who do you know? Who do you have? You tell them, although I don't have anybody, but I have the capacity and I'm building capacity to achieve certain things. Never let anyone sell you a lie that is capable of grounding your life. In the journey of personal growth, the first point of call in this banana principle is that you must be truthful to yourself. Call a spade a spade. Go back to study if you need to study. No student passes an exam without studying. I mean, even if you are very smart, you would have to study. Be truthful to yourself. Where you are coming from is not as good as where you are going. I've seen people make a few thousands, a few millions, and they just feel they have arrived. Be truthful, you haven't. You haven't. So the first law in the banana principle, or the first principle in this concept, is that you must be truthful to yourself. All right? Number two in the banana principle is you must always dare yourself. You must always dare yourself. You know, there's a very good story in the Bible about a guy who was following a prophet. And then the other prophet saw him and said, "Hey, I hope you know what you're doing." I'm talking about Elisha. I hope you know what you're doing. In fact, God has shown us that he would take this man away after crossing Jordan. He knew, but he dared himself. Now, whatever you need for excellence should not be too expensive for you to pursue. Whatever you need for your personal growth in the right perspective should not be too expensive for you to pursue. Dare yourself. Spend those nights reading. Spend those nights studying. Get a mentor to push you. You must always dare yourself. Josh Mayer said that the battle of life is the battle of the mind. Whatever you cannot conquer in your mind, you cannot conquer in life. And whatever you can conquer in your mind, you can conquer with time. I've seen people told me I am impossible. But guess what? The impossibility ended right on their lips because I dared myself. Having gone through the aviation industry for about 15 years, I have pushed myself to a point where I have become an industry expert. There are some people who started with us many years back that still remain underdogs. Why? Because they were relaxed. Don't live on a paycheck. What if the job fails? Dare yourself to push the lines. If you have a BSc, it is time to get on your master's. If you have O levels and you're jumping around and people are hailing you and you are not truthful to yourself, you are going to sit on a spot for too long. So you need to ask yourself. You need to query yourself. You need to dare yourself. The journey of 1,000,000 miles, they say, starts with a step. So it is important that you always dare yourself. So I've shared with you 2 principles already. Number 1, you got to be truthful to yourself. Number 2, you must always dare yourself. Number 3 principle in the banana principle is never pass the buck. Never pass the buck. Have you seen people blame Buhari? They have never seen the president of the nation before. They have never seen the governor before, but they just have a way of conditioning their mind to say that the leadership of the country has put them where they are. I totally understand that there's a lot of mismanagement, there's a lot of downturn, there's a lot of, issues with leadership in our present time and dispensation. But excuse me, you've got no right to pass the buck to anyone if you must grow personally. Yeah. So tell yourself, nobody. In fact, I used to say to those who are close to me, where you are today is a proof of how far you have pushed yourself. I mean, you can get people to, give you some support, but never pass the buck. If you fail an exam, go back to the first principle. Be truthful to yourself, dare yourself, and then never pass the buck. Too many lazy people in this generation. They would always have somebody to push back on. Oh, it was because he didn't like me and that's why I didn't get the promotion. If you were very efficient and you were a good team player, I'm sure you would get that position. All right? So please, the more you pass the buck, the more opportunities you lose. The more you pass the buck, the more opportunities you lose. In Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, after creation, Adam passed the buck to the woman. That didn't save him. They were still sent out of the garden. You think about it. Esau passed the buck to his brother, Jacob. Oh, it was because I went out and before I got back, he had taken the blessings. Life is not at your mercy every time you pass the buck. Life does not respond to you by the number of times you pass the buck. Life only responds to you by what you put on the table for negotiation. If you fail, please do not pass the buck on anyone. Get up from where you are and keep pushing the lines. And that is what I'm here to encourage you about today. Do not pass the buck. I've shared 3 with you. Be truthful to yourself, always dare yourself, and never pass the buck. Number 4 principle in the banana principle is always start from where you stopped. And this for me is very instructive. Life is likened to a race. Life is likened to a race. And I've never seen any athlete starts a race, falls along the race, and decides to go back to the starting point. Now, the truth is, I don't know who sold these ideas to us, but it's absolutely wrong. It's absolutely wrong. You should know how far you have come in life and then pick it up from where you are. Never let anyone sell you the idea of going back to the starting point. In fact, the world is evolving. The world is evolving. Every time you go back to the beginning, you lose time and you lose prospect. Every time you go back to the beginning, you lose time and you lose prospect. Have you heard people say you need to go back to the drawing board? What that means is you need to go back to where your project stopped. You need to go back to where the last strategy stopped. From there you pick things up. All right? From there you pick things up. Never let people sell you the idea of going back to the starting point. Because if you're 35 today and someone says you have to go back to the starting point, trust me, you would almost be hitting 70 or even 60 before you even get back to where you were 35 years ago. And that's very, very important. You must understand. I'm sharing with you today on the banana principle for personal growth. All right, let's take number 5. Number 5, never place your life on autopilot. Never place your life on autopilot. I've been in the aviation industry for a while, and there's something called technical landing. Let me explain. Now, when an airplane takes off from South Africa, for instance, and wants to fly all the way to London, every airplane has its own endurance. Every airplane. Some airplanes can only fly max of 4 hours. Some can fly as much as 6 hours. Some can fly as much as 13 hours. Now ask yourself, how long can I operate? How long can I run before taking a break to reassess my life? Barrister Cosmos Okolo once told me, I think many years back in 2009, he said, you must regularly audit your life. A man who regularly audits his life does not place his life on autopilot. You don't just keep going like you don't have a braking system. There are times, once a week, once in a month, once a year, you have to sit down and do, like we call in the aviation sector, a technical stop. A technical stop. The quantity of fuel you have running, if care is not taken, you will run out of fuel. You will run out of strength. You will run out of capacity. You will run out of ideas. So you must take a technical stop to evaluate yourself. Otherwise, a crash is around the corner. Never put your life on autopilot. It's dangerous. It's more dangerous than cancer. It can probably end your life the moment you crash. Let's give another example on why you shouldn't put your life or you shouldn't place your life on autopilot. Every car owner understands that there's a certain time that his or her vehicle needs to go for maintenance. You change the oil, you change the oil filter, you get that engine serviced for another 5,000 miles. That's what I'm selling to you today in the banana principle of you never, putting your life or placing your life on autopilot. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. All right? Okay, let's take the next one and then I'll be out of your way. But I'll need you to please dwell on these principles because it has a way of shifting your mindset. Remember, I said to you at the beginning, there is 1 thing you must be, 2 things you must never do, and 3 things you must always do. All these are outlined in the banana principle for personal growth. Number 6, always show gratitude. Always show gratitude. Every phase of your life should be backed up with gratitude. Like someone said, we don't look like where we're going to. However, we still do not look like where we are coming from. Many years back, I'm sure they called you an underdog. Oh, you won't amount to anything. Oh, how far can you go? But are you grateful for how far you have come? What seals our excellence, what puts us on the pedestal for the next level is the gratitude of the ones we have achieved. Yeah. And don't forget in the principle, if you do not place your life on autopilot, it gives you an opportunity to sit down, reflect. And part of the things you should do when reflecting is to be grateful for how far you have come. Be grateful to that manager in your office, because if it was mean to you, I'm sure he would have replaced you almost immediately. Be grateful for every single opportunity. Be grateful to that man who squeezed out 1,000 naira to support you. Be grateful. This is how people grow. I've seen people lose everything in life because they were ungrateful to the source. And I'm talking about gratitude to God and to the people God has placed around you. You have to be grateful. You have to be grateful. Otherwise, he who is able to bless you will take away the source if you do not show gratitude. There was a story in the Bible where 10 lepers were healed and only one came back. Only one came back to give thanks. Only one came back with gratitude. Gratitude is a catalyst. It can take you from the least, from the bottomless pit to the top. There's a story as well of Jesus in the Bible when he was faced with 5,000 people. He wanted to feed them. And then they searched everywhere. In fact, he asked his disciples, how do you think, where can we find food for all these people? And they came back with a report. Boss, there is only one small boy. Even though he's willing to release what he has, but what he has cannot even be enough for him, let alone 5,000 men, excluding women and children, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. The scripture recorded that Jesus lifted up that which was not enough and gave it to his disciples to share. Every time you lift up that which is not enough, every time you lift up that level you have not gotten to before God, and you are grateful for where you have come to, or where you are and where you are going to, there's every possibility that life will smile on you. God will smile on you and give you more opportunities. Life is full of opportunities, so you need to understand. Now, let me quickly recap all I've said to you today, and I'd like you to think about them. Number 1, in the banana principle, you must be truthful to yourself. You must be truthful to yourself. You must be truthful to yourself. Number 2, always dare yourself. Keep pushing the lines. Keep pushing the lines. All right? Number 3, never pass the buck. Never pass the buck. All right? Never pass the buck. Never find people to blame. Everyone who always look for someone to blame would always remain at the same spot. Number 4, right? Number 4, always start from where you stopped. Always start from where you stopped. Don't go back to the beginning. I don't know who sold that idea to you, but it's never an ideal idea. It's not part of the principle. All right? Always start from where you stop. And then number 5 is never place your life on autopilot. And number 6, always show gratitude. Always show gratitude. I hope that these words will encourage you. I hope that you sit down and assimilate this word. It's a principle that has worked, like I said earlier, and it has worked for me. Trust me, push the lines, push the limits, and you see yourself grow to what God has ordained you to become. Don't forget, purpose is important. Purpose is more important than achievement. Yeah, you heard me right. Purpose is more important than whatever thing you can purchase ever. Purpose is the reason for our existence. And if you do not grow, it's impossible to fulfill purpose. Thank you very much for having me on. I hope you've learned something. So we'll come your way next time. Please remain positive and stay safe. And like I've always told those who are close to me on every platform, life was made to be simple. It was never ordained by God to be complicated. Thank you, and God bless you all. Meanwhile, before you go, I hope this has blessed you and there are more videos in stock. Click on the subscription button. Drop a comment below if you were blessed by this. And also, don't forget to follow the Amrich Leadership Centre on all their platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on Instagram. And I'm sure that you would get lots of resource materials to help you grow and to become who you want to be. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.